Welcome to the video on Scansion. This is going to have to do mostly with Dactylic, Hexameter, and Epic Scansion. So this is for reading Virgil and Ovid and stuff like that. But for the AP, this is mostly just for our Virgil section. It's important to know that that poetry was actually spoken. So it was kind of like a song. It had a rhythm to it. And there was probably an accompanying lyre or something like that to make the music. However, the words themselves make kind of a rhythm as they go through the poem. So it actually has a beat, a set beat, and that's what we're talking about here when we say scansion. We're going to start labeling the vowels and of the syllables as either a long or a short vowel, which is how you know whether it's a whole beat or a half beat. And those of you familiar with music should be able to pick up on this, as the beat would just be quarter notes, and this is a long vowel, so you think of the long vowels as kind of just the beat, whereas the short vowels are more like eighth notes, which is half of a quarter note. So if you know music, you know that eighth notes are half of a quarter note, or if you don't know music, you can just think of a short vowel as half of a long vowel. So this is going to be more like bum bum, and this is going to be more like bump bump. Okay, so you can see it's a lot shorter, you go through a little quicker, and you're going to find that you're going to have two kinds of feet. We'll talk about what feet are in a second, but you're going to have bum bum or bum bup bup, and they're actually the same length because they're two beats no matter what. 1, 2, 1, and then 2. If you take these two halves, they make the second beat. Okay, but you still do two smaller vowel lengths. Okay, so it'll make more sense, I hope, by the end of the video. So just keep moving and rewind to get an explanation as we go. There are various types of poetry, and in Virgil and Ovid we're reading epic poetry, which is in the meter of dactylic hexameter. It sounds really intense. It's really not. Dactylic just means it has dactyls in it, which means that it kind of goes bum, bup, bup, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then hexameter, maybe you see hex, that means 6, right? So it has 6 feet. So hexameter means it's like a 6-footed dactyl thing. So dactylic hexameter is simply just saying that it's made of dactyls and there are 6 feet. So don't worry too much about the name, other than just knowing that it means that it's the meter of epic poetry. Okay, so this is epic poetry, like the Aeneid. So like I said, it has 6 feet. Feet are one set of bum 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 or bum bum, so 2 beats. Okay, and each one of those is either a dactyl, which is the long short short, or a spondy, long long. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I don't really know how to tell if a vowel is long or short. That's okay. I'm going to teach that in this video as well, so just hang in there. However, I just want you to realize how this is working, in that there's a pattern to the way that the author wrote the poetry. So actually, I'm going to scan this line. That's what we call it. We call it scanning, where you assign labels to all of the vowels as either long or short. And then I'm going to read it out loud so that you can actually hear how the longs and shorts work. So I want you to kind of follow along, and I'm going to teach you actually how I'm doing all of what I'm doing in the next few slides. But we see this has got to be long, and that's simply because when you start a foot, in both of these, it starts long. So the first syllable of every line is going to be long. And then we see the A, I, okay. So we have A, I, those are long, short, short. Again, we started a foot with that UM right there, so we have a long, short, short, long. This is long, 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 short, short, long, long. So now we count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet. Excellent. So that means we are correct in our scansion. All of them are either a bum 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 or a bum bum. So I'm gonna actually just give you the beat here. So the rhythm for this line goes bum 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 bum, and that's because those short vowels are the bup bup, and those longer lines are the those longs, those dun dun. That's the beat. So if you're reading this, we put it all together, you can say, Armavirumque cano Troiae qui prima saboris. You can see how I skipped over like the shorter vowels a little quicker than those long ones. The long ones get the emphasis. Okay, so rewind that and listen again. And it'll really be apparent how this is working. And I'm going to move on and teach you how to figure out if a vowel is long or short. Alright, so when deciding if a vowel is long or short, we're going to actually use a few different rules. The first one is actually the one that you're going to use probably most often, and it's the consonant rule. And that is, if you have a vowel, okay, let's just label vowel with V, and you have one consonant and another vowel. Not always, but usually, this vowel that only has one consonant after it is short, okay? So if you have one consonant between vowels, it's probably a short vowel. However, I'm going to erase that, so make sure you paid attention to that. Actually, you know what? I can remember to do it in red here. So we have, on the contrary, we have in red the vowel, if we have two consonants or more, we can have three consonants if you want to. If you have two consonants or more, that vowel, the first one that has two consonants after it, is long, usually, okay? So the consonant rule is simply like there are more consonants after it, therefore it is longer. Whereas the short ones have fewer consonants between the vowels, and therefore they're shorter. And this is actually not that hard, but there are going to be a lot of exceptions to this, and then we're going to get to things like long by nature, which is going to throw a wrench in this a little bit, but as a general rule, that's how you do it. So if you're really trying to fall back on something, the consonant rule is where you should go fall back to. Now there's a couple of things. X. X counts as two consonants because it's a KS sound. Alright? So if you have vowel X, that vowel is long. Okay? H's do not count. They don't make a sound. They just have a puff of air. Okay? So don't count H's when you're scansion. It is not a consonant. It doesn't sound like anything. Okay? Anyway, those are the weird ones. The consonant rule, very important. So try to follow along when we do the example. What I'm saying about the consonants is very true. Now diphthongs. Diphthongs are things like AE, OI, AI, sometimes UI. And OE, sorry, I forgot that one. Those are just simply if two vowels are smushed together and they make one sound. It is one syllable. So AE just makes the I sound. It's not I-E, it's I. It's simple, it's one sound, therefore it's just a long vowel. Okay, so diphthongs are long. And they are one syllable. Okay, so I'm actually going to skip you down right here. Tantai. The very first word of our example is a long. It's AE. Okay, it has a diphthong in it. It's long. Cool. I'm going to erase that so we can get to it later. Long by nature. This is the one that's going to create a lot of exceptions to things. So the consonant rule is going to work until long by nature comes in. But you know a lot of these already. These are things like long vowels at the ends of words. Like if you have an ablative, there's a long A. O's typically, when they're at the end of a word at least, are long. When you have things like arum, the genitive, that A is usually long. Or aurum. Or an ending I is usually long. Or if you have a dative ablative plural, it has a long IS versus a short IS in the third conjugation. Or declension, sorry. So these are simply just things that exist in the world. Those endings are simply long. How about infinitives? Usually you have long ARE and an infinitive. Or if you have a second conjugation, you have a long ERE. Okay? So these are things you just know to be long. And it's just going to help you along the way, because if you're labeling one as short, there's either something wrong or you're misinterpreting the word. So it's actually kind of cool, because Virgil will know the long where a long vowel would be, and he puts it in the scansion perfectly. So if you mislabel something doesn't work, you probably did something wrong, and it could have to do with something being long by nature. Okay? So let's scan this line together down here. And we're going to go kind of slowly, although if I'm too fast, you can still rewind and rehear the explanations for each one. But I'm going to see if I can't get this whole thing scanned for you right now. So I'm actually going to clear this I and this IS out of the way so that we have room. Alright, so, and right away we see an A here, and that's got to be long because it's the first vowel in a foot, so they both feet start with long marks, so we need that there. And then we see AE. AE is a diphthong, right? So we see it up here, it's right here, and that means that's long, because diphthongs are long. And then we draw a line because we're done with the foot. We have a long, we have 2 beats. Alright, so we have mole, that's an O, and then we have I, which is followed by an S, and then another E, so there's only one consonant between the 2 vowels. That means that these vowels are short. Okay? The A here has to be long. First of all, it's the beginning of a foot, but second of all, because we have a T and an R, both consonants, so that's 2 consonants between those 2 and the O there. That means that we have a long A here. Now this O, it's very interesting. You have to know the word Romanum, but Romanum actually has a long O there, which kind of throws a wrench in things because that's just one where it's long by nature and it's part of the root. It doesn't happen very often, and this is hard to predict, but that's just how this one is. So that also happens a lot. I gave you this particular line just to show you that it's not always followed by the rules. You have to just kind of know roots sometimes, and that's hard to do. But I'll tell you that that's a long O. And then we see, then this has to be a long A because it starts a foot, and I know it only has one consonant, so that's odd as well, but again, the root has that long A there. And then this A right here, this last syllable of Romana, it has an M and a C after it, so that's got the 2 consonants, therefore it's long. And then we start the next foot, Kond, with a first vowel in a foot, and also it has an ND after it, so that's 2 consonants, therefore it's long. And we see an ERE. This is actually 3rd conjugation, so we know that those are both short, but also because this E only has an R between it and the other E, so it's only 1 consonant there. And then long, and we only have 1 possibility because we can't end on a short, so therefore it is gentem, like that. Actually, you know what, the last foot usually isn't represented, because you need to go on to the next line. So usually you draw an X there. Alright? So that's the correct scansion there. Alright, so one more rule that we're going to have to go over here is elision. Now, elision means that, basically you have a word that ends with a vowel, or one of these accusative endings, UM, EM, AM, or IM, and then the next word starts with a vowel. Alright? And what that happened, it's hard to say. So if you just look at this chunk here, ille et, it's hard to say ille et when doing rhythm. So what happens is one of these E's doesn't get pronounced in the scansion. And that's what elision is. You have to kind of cut out one of the vowels. Elision literally means to cut out. So I'm going to show you how to scan this, but it's important that you are looking for these things. So when words start with a vowel, look at the word before it to make sure it didn't end with a vowel, or with a UM or an AM or an EM or an IM, because you might ruin your scansion if you don't catch that. So it's kind of important. So let me just show you what I mean by doing this one. So we have litora malt, and then here we have this UM. Here, I'll do it in red so you can see it. The UM, and there's an I as the first vowel of the next word. Therefore, this UM doesn't get counted. You actually just kind of pretend it's not there. And you act like the next vowel is the I on ille. And it has 2 L's after it, so it's long. Okay? And now we have another example right here in this line. So we have an E and an Et. So we have to get rid of that E. And actually the next one then, next vowel to start this foot, is this E, which has 2 T's, and therefore it's long. And it's the beginning of a foot. This E right here has 2 R's after it, so that's got to be long. This long IS, that's a dative ablative plural, so it's long by nature, but it's also got an S. And then this I actually is supposed to be kind of a J. And you know there's no J in Latin, they use I. So this is I used as a consonant. Alright, so if you think of it as a J, it's going to be a little easier here. And if you just say the word yaktatus, yak makes 1 sound, so you know it's not iaktatus. You go yaktatus with 1 sound, so that's 1 syllable, and therefore that IS is long. But there's a CT after A, so that means that that one's long anyway. And then this one has to be long because it's the beginning of a foot. We see the US with the ET, and then we go alto. All right. So jactatus et alto. So here we have litora multileteris jactatus et alto. And you see I didn't actually pronounce the UM or the E that we elided. That's how he would have pronounced it if Virgil were performing this. So it's kind of neat. But anyway, that's important to know, and this probably will be on the AP. Usually when they ask you to scan something, they have something with elision in it to make sure that you're thorough with your scansion. So this is a big kind of like a warning sign. So I would keep this slide in mind, maybe rewind this one and check it out again. All right, so we'll do some practice on the next slide. As we can begin the practice, though, I want to point out that there's kind of a cool rule that Virgil only breaks about 3 times in all of the lines of the Aeneid. So it's actually, it's pretty much a rule. It's like a 99.99% of the time rule. So it's kind of a cool way to do this. But if you end the line first, it's actually going to be a lot easier because each line always ends the same way, and that's with a dactyl followed by a spondy. So you're going to go bum, bup, bup, bum, bum at the end of every line. So the last 2 feet are always pretty much the same. Like I said, 99.99% of the time, those 2 feet are exactly in that pattern. Okay? So you can almost do this, what I'm doing right now, before you even know what the rest says. Okay? That's pretty cool, huh? So you already got a third of it done because those are the last 2 lines of dactylic hexameter usually. Bum, 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 bum. And then, sorry, per labiturundas. Okay. So we already have those ready to go. And then what I like to do is just start from the beginning at that point, and if I meet in the middle and something's wrong, then I'll go back and fix it, instead of trying to wait till the very, very end. So if we start over here, we see I with double L's, and that's going to be long, okay? And then we have this UM, but there's an E in the next word beginning it, so we have to elide the UM. And then, since the X counts as 2 consonants, and SP that's a lot of consonants in a row, that E is definitely long. All right? And then we have irantam transfix. So there's a lot of spondies in this one. So we have il expirantem transfixo pectore flammas. It's kind of a neat line. It's got a ton of spondies. But let's move on to the next one. I think it's going to have a few more dactyls. So we have atquerotis, and those are short because there's only an R between the E and the O. The IS there is long. There's 2 M's after the U, so that's long. And then we have os levibus per labiturundas. And you know there's a few more dactyls in this one, and maybe not by accident, because you can kind of see that this line is talking about wheels gliding over the sea, so it's kind of a nice like movement pattern. And you notice the pattern's very regular, so we have bum 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 atquerotisum mas levibus per labiturundas. So you kind of see it's kind of a very steady rhythm, much like the wheels that were turning over the sea for, this is Poseidon, of course, in his chariot. So it's kind of a cool way that the meter can help you get an image of the text, and you can it kind of provides a little bit of music to the text, even though it's just a piece of literature and it's not actually a movie with background music. I think it's very cool. So you add a couple more dactyls to kind of keep the rolling sound going, all right? But it's very regular. Bum 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 bum. So it's kind of a, I don't know, it's very neat. I really appreciate that. So I hope that was very clear. Make sure to rewind if you miss something, if you don't know why something is the way it is. But we always make sure to count at the end, make sure we have 6 feet. And, oops, that's a 5, and then 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're good on both. So that concludes the practice. Make sure to rewind if you didn't understand something. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And before you go, just you try to go back and practice reading them aloud with the meter. So when you scan something, also try to read it out loud. It'll really help you to get a feel for how it sounded, and the meter will really help you be able to kind of get your way through the poetry, much like it was heard back then. So that's it for me this time. So good luck, and make sure you ask me if you have any questions.